In The Nightmare Before Christmas, all of the monsters come together to celebrate Halloween. Leading these monsters, of course, is the scariest among them, Jack Skellington. Jack is an animated skeleton who has certain abilities which he explains as,
"Since I am dead."
The most horrifying creature in Halloween Town was at one point alive. At some point, Jack Skellington was a human living outside of Halloween Town, and today we are going to try to figure out who he was during that time. Hello, I'm Isaac from Onso Videos, where we discuss fun topics for fun people, and today I'm going to try to figure out who Jack Skellington was before he died. Originally, when I asked myself this question, I was determined to find an answer, so of course I turned to the internet. And this is where I found the Burtonverse, which is a huge interconnected weave of all of Tim Burton's films, including Frankenweenie, Vincent, Edward Scissorhands, Beetlejuice, The Nightmare Before Christmas, and The Corpse Bride. There was a huge family tree and connection spanning all of the films. For Jack Skellington, the creator of this theory, screen name missing, inferred Jack was actually the deceased version of Victor from The Corpse Bride because they both had an affinity towards dogs, knowledge of the dead, and similar appearances. I was going to speculate that Jack was a descendant of Victor who used his ancestors' experiences with the dead to keep himself alive after death. Although I think this is still a really cool idea, it was difficult to prove, which is why it's not the focus of the video. I also realized even if I could come to the final conclusion Jack was related to Victor, we still wouldn't know who Jack was when he was alive, just who he was related to. To find out which human could have become the Pumpkin King when they died, we need to look for some criteria. One, the human needs to be smart and capable, since Jack was able to conduct experiments, be a good leader, and was a good fighter. And two, the human needs to have died before the modern Christmas was created, since Jack has little to no background on this holiday when he travels to Christmasland. It was in the 1800s, Christmas traditions began to transform from large parties to intimate family events, including decorating trees, sending holiday cards, and gift giving. The first illustration of Santa wasn't even recorded till 1863 by Thomas Nast. This means for Jack Skellington to have no idea what Christmasland was, he needed to have lived and died at the latest in the early 1800s. With these qualifications in mind, let's look to another Disney animation which appears to have some characters with some knowledge of what goes on every Halloween. Perhaps, if they know something about Jack Skellington, then maybe they can lead us to find some further background on him. In the adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Brom Bones tells Ichabod Crane the legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Long about midnight, the ghosts and banshees, they get together for their nightly jamboree. Oh, I'm telling you, brother, it's a frightful sight to see what goes on Halloween night.
This sounds just like Halloween Town's annual Halloween celebration. All of the creatures come out to celebrate and frighten the world. The villagers explain,
"Some are fat and some are thin.
And some don't even wear their skin."
The residents of Halloween Town are diverse to say the least, but what I found the most intriguing was the claim some monsters don't wear skin. Maybe some only are made of bone, just like Jack. The villagers know of the Halloween ritual and know of skeletons like Jack coming to life, but Jack is no mere resident. He is world-renowned for his scaring, just like another monster.
Ghosts are bad, but the one that's cursed is the headless horseman. He's the worst.
Well, this is weird. The citizens seem to be talking about Halloween Town, but they claim the Headless Horseman is the worst monster, while in The Nightmare Before Christmas, that is Jack. Was this before Jack's time? Was the Headless Horseman a previous Pumpkin King, or are they the same person? By looking into their similarities further, it seems more and more likely these monsters are the same. Not only do the Headless Horseman and Jack Skellington scare people, but they are also well known, both seem to be a part of a Halloween jamboree tradition with other monsters, both can remove their heads, and when they aren't wearing their heads, they use pumpkins instead. Jack even seems to fondly remember scaring and possibly even murdering a duo of a who look an awful like Ichabod and his horse. At this point, some may be skeptical because in the original legend of Sleepy Hollow, it was heavily implied Brom Bones disguised himself as the Headless Horseman to scare Ichabod away from the woman he fancied. But when Ichabod looks inside the suit of the horseman in the Disney version, his face is more terrified than ever. His fright would make sense if he saw only bones within the suit, showing him he was being haunted by an undead soul, Jack Skellington. Jack and the Headless Horseman shared this scaring story and possessed these similarities because the Headless Horseman was an alias of Jack. Jack was always looking for new ways to reinvent Halloween, even going so far as to take over Christmas and become Santa Claus for a night. I wouldn't doubt for a few years he rode a black horse through the countryside Halloween night to frighten travelers, but what does this have to do with discovering who Jack was as a human? Well, since there was a good chance that Jack was the Headless Horseman, that means that the Headless Horseman's backstory would also be Jack's. And it just so happens that the Headless Horseman's backstory perfectly would explain Jack's origins. The Horseman was said to have been a Hessian soldier, a mercenary from Germany who were commonly press-ganged or forced into service, who fought in the American Revolutionary War. Since the revolution occurred prior to the 19th century even beginning, then Jack would have never learned about the modern Christmas before his death. Also, Jack being the horseman shows he's a skilled fighter and understands how to lead a group of people because of his time in the military. However, he did not survive the war. During a battle, the horseman was killed by a cannonball to the face, removing his head. If the horseman and Jack are the same person, then Jack dying during a conflict he may have been forced into would explain how he initially survived after his death. He had unfinished business. Maybe it was because he never had a family, never could find a passion in his life, or find love, or maybe he just wanted his head back. Something was keeping him in the world. I have always thought Halloween Town was the underworld, especially with the devil present, or at least some type of limbo. But I realized there are creatures in the town who are not from our world, like the Harlequin demon, the one hiding under the stairs, and the undersea gal, indicating the magic of Halloween Town allows creatures from many different places to come together to be horrifying. In contrast, in another Tim Burton film, The Corpse Bride, the idea of limbo is more clearly explored as a place when there is unfinished business and the corpses of the dead remain animated until their problems are resolved. Did Jack's problems never get resolved, or did he choose to live in Halloween Town? The Headless Horseman's backstory states that ever since the deadly battle, he was said to have searched for his head or a replacement every Halloween night. But obviously Jack has his head, indicating he may have gotten closure some way. Maybe after so many years of scaring with the other monsters on Halloween, he decided to live in Halloween Town and not go on to an afterlife after his closure. Jack seems to have found a calling after his death, and he explains what he feels his purpose is in his appearance in Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. He says, "Fear and doubt are signs of a strong heart. They push your heart, strike out in new directions. Without them, your zest for life might fade, as would your taste for fear, and believe me, that would really ruin my fun." Jack sees fear as a way of living, and he wants to spread that to others. In the search to discover who Jack was before his time as a skeleton, we learned at one point he went by the Headless Horseman. Once we understood these characters were identical, then the Headless Horseman's story showed us Jack's struggle as a soldier torn from his home to fight and die in a war he had no stakes in. Because he died so young, he lived in limbo, came to haunt the living each Halloween with monsters, and after years of being the most frightening monster, through many aliases and plots, Jack takes down the role as the scariest monster alive and is hailed the Pumpkin King. Although his time as a human was short, he eventually did find happiness and love in death. So now it's time for the question of the day, sponsored by my patrons. Do you think Jack, like the Headless Horseman, was a soldier who died in the American Revolution? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, along with any other ideas you have for future Discovering Disney episodes. Since it is October, that means that Halloween is approaching, so I've been creating a lot of fun and spooky videos for all of you. And if you'd like to stay up to date with new magical videos, then click that subscribe button and follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. To see more Watso videos, then check out some awesome pics over there. And as always, thanks for watching and have a magical day.